Diamonds are a girl's best friend, right? Welcome back to the Trailblazer Pod. I'm your host Faye, and each week I bring you stories of Jewish women paving bold paths. This week, I'm joined by Leah Sroka, a personal jeweler in New York City's Diamond District. She went from retail florist to fine jewelry founder. No shortcuts, just real work. This episode, Leah breaks down why virality doesn't equal profit, why diamonds aren't exactly what people think, and why success today looks less like pressure and more like peace. Let's dive in. Leah, welcome to the Trailblazer Pod. Thank you so much for being here. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited that I get to start my morning with you.
I love having podcasts in the morning because then it just the energy stays with me throughout the day.
No, I'm excited to have this energy going into my day.
Yes. So first of all, have you ever been on another podcast or is this your first time?
I think this is my first time I've ever been on a podcast.
Okay.
So I'm
And
so excited.
yeah, it's one of the reasons I wanted you on. Obviously, I want to talk about, you and your career, but I like tapping into people who don't normally do long form content and taking the snippets they do share on social media and being like, let's create the story out of this. So I'm excited for people who follow you to learn a little bit more about you.
Yeah, me too. I feel like I never get to sit down and
Mm-hmm.
explain how I got into this
Yes.
field and what brought me to be where I
Mm-hmm.
am today. Because
Yeah.
girl, it's a story.
Exactly. Well, thanks for giving me the opportunity to do that. I want to start from the very beginning, and I do this with all my guests. Paint me a picture of Leia as a little girl. What were you like? What was your family like? Anything you want to share.
So I grew up in a very traditional Jewish household at best.
Mm-hmm.
At best. We were those 3 times a year Jews that went
Mm.
to Chabad on the main holidays, like Pesach and everything. But other than that, Judaism wasn't a really big thing in my
Mm-hmm.
home. I also grew up in the Keys in Key West, which is definitely a little
Cool.
different. Because when I say I'm from
Yes.
Florida, people automatically think oh, you're from Miami. But
Right.
no, actually, I grew up in the Keys. And yeah, isn't that crazy?
That's so interesting. So my parents live in Miami, but they go to the Keys for vacation, and I go to Miami for vacation. So it's just that's really funny. Wow.
Yeah, so I grew up in vacation land. My whole
Yeah.
childhood was vacation. I remember wearing a bathing suit under my clothes to school and just going to the beach after. So I am
Dream.
the opposite. How I grew up was the opposite of a city girl. So
Wow.
I think that's why I love the dichotomy of it.
Mm,
That it's so foreign to me.
yeah.
Living here and living the life that I'm living now is totally not what I
That's
saw
so
growing
cool.
up.
So now, do you feel I like that you brought that up. Do you feel like now you still have that part of you, or you kind of that was my childhood, this is me now?
Um, I think it's separate, honestly.
Mm,
I would love to say yeah, I bring that into my life now, but I always wanted to live in a big
mm-hmm.
city. I always wanted to get out of my literally I lived on an island. I don't know if you know
That's
how
crazy.
it is, but it's literally 4 miles wide by 4 miles long. It
Yeah.
is very, very small. And our vacations, my family vacations was to go to Miami or Orlando
Wow.
to Disney World. I never really traveled as a kid or got to see what was outside
Mm-hmm.
of my little island. So
Yeah.
as I got older, I loved to travel. I loved to see new things
Wow.
and get out of my comfort zone a little bit more.
It's the classic tale of small country girl wants to go out into the big city type of thing.
100%,
Yeah.
100%.
Wow. Personality. What were you like? I know you were always wearing a bathing suit under your clothes, but were you creative? Were you adventurous? Were you a homebody? What do you remember?
Yeah. No, I was always creative. I was always adventurous. I was the wild child. My parents definitely had a good time with me. Very free spirited
Mm,
and always very stuck in my ways. I come from a family of entrepreneurs, so
mm,
being creative and being out of the box was
yeah.
always very, very understood and
Mm,
appreciated.
yeah.
So that was really, really cool growing up. My grandfather was an entrepreneur
Mm,
and my father was an entrepreneur. So it's just kind of in my blood how
yes.
I grew up. And yeah, it's so funny. I never saw myself being at a desk job. I always knew I was going to do something myself. I mean, I started working the minute that I could. When
Mm-hmm.
I think I got my first job when I was 14 or 15 years old. And like the minute that I could
Yeah.
legally get on a pay stub, like I was like, I'm making my own money. I don't want
Wow.
to be reliant on anyone for anything. And that's something that my father and my grandfather really instilled in me.
Yeah.
My first job ever, it was actually, they were simultaneous. So I actually had two jobs. This is my first
Of course
job.
you did.
Yeah, literally. Um, I was um, they called it being a model at Hollister. I was
Mm.
a Hollister model.
Fun.
They're the only place that would hire like a 15-year-old.
Mm.
Very weird, but okay, whatever. So at 15 years old, I started working at Hollister
Wow.
and did that whole thing, beach girl,
Mm.
whatever, really tapped into
Mhm.
that vibe. And then also how I learned sales, and I still use the skills that I learned from this job at 15 years old now, is I sold the hair products and Dead Sea products with the Israelis in the middle of the mall. And
You're that girl?
I was that girl.
That's so funny.
And my Israeli boss, Itai, I hope he sees this Itai somewhere.
Oh.
He literally taught me sales, like
Wow.
real Israeli sales, how to
Yeah.
talk to a customer, how to pull them in, and like learning those skills at such a young age is something that I've carried with me through my whole life. Like
That's
I really,
amazing.
really do remember them. It's
That's
crazy.
amazing. I think some
Yeah.
of us, like, we have this, like, dream career, and then we do jobs that because we need to work, right? We need money. And I think it's
Right.
easy for people to be, like, miserable and be like, this is never going to translate into real life. And I think at some point, like, I think when you get later in your 20s, you realize everything connects somehow. Everything you learn is applicable in some way into your next job, right?
Oh,
There's no,
100%.
yeah.
Talk
Think,
about like how I did like color and styling
yeah.
and everything. Like it is so crazy. Like whenever we get there, I'll tell you about that.
Okay. Okay, we're almost there. So I know you were talking about you always wanted to get out into the big city or do something a little bit more than just being on this little island in Key West. What did you envision career-wise? Did you have a specific, was it a specific goal or career, or was it more big picture, like I just envision myself working in the city? Like what did that look like?
No, I always loved clothes and makeup, and, like, I was always a girly girl, and I was
Mm-hmm.
always, even as a young kid, like, the girl in the friend group that would, like, tell everyone what they should wear, and
Yeah.
everyone would ask me for styling advice, and, like, I was always the girly girl, and, like, obviously where I grew up, there wasn't a lot of like nice
Yeah.
clothing stores and like fancy things, but like I would make it. Like I would make myself
Wow.
little jewelry out of beads if I had to, or my mom would take me shopping at somewhere that like at like Sears or something. Remember that was a thing?
Yes.
I literally remember going there and I would do what I could with what I had and I would
Mm-hmm.
make outfits and like
Wow.
I remember just always wanting to be very, very, like, bougie. Like, my dad would always call me, like, "Oh, you think you're the princess, you're the princess," and
And
I'm
you're
like,
like, I am.
like, "What?" But it was
I
just so
love it.
funny because, like, we were such a, like, down to earth, very,
Mm.
like, small town family,
Living with the
so
land type of, yeah.
so
Yeah.
extra, and, like, my
Yeah.
parents did not know what to do with me.
It's funny. I don't have kids, but I'm the opposite. I'm very like I live in the country. I don't know makeup. I don't really know clothes. I'm like always in like Uggs and like the opposite of you. Like I admire you, but I'm just like not
Oh,
naturally like that.
don't
But
get me wrong. I also dress
you can,
in my
you're a
style.
girl who can do both. Yeah. Yeah, you're a
I'm a
girl,
girl who can do
yeah.
both
But
also.
I
I
always tell my husband if I have a kid that's only like the girly girl, like I am really gonna have to learn some things. I might have to call you, Leah. Like I truly might
I'll
have
be
to
here for
just be
you.
like, okay,
I'll be here for you.
thank you,
I have a
appreciate it.
daughter. She's a year and a half,
Oh.
and I'm excited to see how her personality
Mm,
goes. Like she's starting to get like her personality, but
wow.
like I don't think I'll know for another like year or so really if
Yeah,
she's like the girly girl type or the
right.
tomboy. I guess we'll
She might
see.
have both. I mean, depends also what your husband's like and like genetics mix weirdly. You never know what you're gonna get.
I never know what I'm gonna get.
Yeah,
Whatever
yeah.
she is, I'm so excited. I don't
Oh,
care.
so
I'll go play in the
beautiful.
dirt with her if we need to. I could also do that. I could do both.
Yes. I love that. So, you were talking about figuring, you were always that person figuring out how to style things and making things out of nothing, basically. You did land the job as a retail stylist, right? How old were you when that happened?
So that was when I moved to New York after I went to seminary in Israel. So I was
Mm,
probably about like 19,
young.
20, something like that. Young. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I had
Yeah.
just done a year seminary in Israel
Mm-hmm.
at Mechanalta, which is an amazing
Nice.
um, seminary for Bali Chuba girls who
Mm,
didn't grow up religious. Literally changed the trajectory of my life
yeah.
completely. I cannot thank enough the
Wow.
amazing staff and teachers of that school. It shaped me as a Jewish woman for the rest of my life,
That's
honestly.
amazing. What
Yeah.
inspired you to go to seminary?
Um, my Chabad rabbi pretty much like
Mhm.
just told me, "You're not doing anything with your life. Might as well learn about your Jewish identity." Because I wasn't planning on going to college. Remember I was
Mm,
like, "Okay, I'm gonna like figure out
right.
my own thing, whatever." And he was like, "Why don't you just take a year off? Like,
Mhm.
we'll get you the scholarship. You'll go and just like think of it as like traveling for a little bit." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, like I'll go. Like, let's go." And little
Cool.
did I know it was gonna change my whole life, and I was gonna meet some of my best friends that
Wow.
I will have for the rest of my life. One of my best girlfriends that I met there, I actually just went to lunch with her this past week,
That's
and
so
it feels
sweet.
like no time has passed, literally,
Yeah.
and
That's so special.
we have changed so much, but, like, we're still like sisters. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
It's really cool that you, like, never know what you go through, how much of an impact it'll have for the rest of your life. Like, you can really just pivot your entire path. That's
Yeah,
amazing. Well, I'm glad you did because I don't know if we'd be sitting here talking about, this
for
on a
sure,
right.
for
So
sure. Yeah,
thank you, Chabad Rabbi.
yeah,
Um
and it's
wait, so let's get back to the retail job. So you got back from seminary, you moved to New York, you got this job.
moved to New York, got this retail job. So it was at a very, very famous, like
Mhm.
Cineas, clothing store. It was called Exquisite Clothing. They're still in business.
I
In
know
Borough.
exquisite clothing. Yeah.
Yeah, they're still in business in Borough Park. And again, same idea. Like the women that I met in that job
Yeah.
are literally my sisters, and like I can't even explain to you how much it changed my life working there. I learned so much from them. And what's really amazing about Exquisite, shout out to Exquisite, since then, the owner who I worked with, who was my boss, Dossie, um, she has since sold it,
Mm.
but and good for her. She had an amazing exit and she built
Wow.
that brand up amazingly. And she taught me so much about what it means to be a woman in business and just to be like a boss. Like literally,
Yeah.
she was so hard. She would come in some days you could tell like she didn't sleep that night, but
Mhm.
like this was her baby and this was her business and like she stood on it and
Yeah.
I learned so much from her and she was had so much grace with me and just like patience with me because
Wow.
I was going through so many changes in my life. I remember towards the end I was going through like some terrible dating stuff, whatever the shidduch system. It's like I was just feeling like it towards the end of me working there before I got married, I was just, like, not in the best
Yeah.
place. It was, right as COVID was happening, and
Wow.
just she had so much grace with me and just really taught me what it's like to be, like, tough and stand on business, but also have, like, really amazing morals and how to also run a company and have employees, which I hope to have someday, but
Yeah.
I learned a lot from her. And,
I
obviously a lot about styling as well and a lot about clothing and she would design everything herself, which is amazing. It wasn't like
wow.
just walking into a clothing store and, like, they buy it from a
Yeah.
buyer. She would have us, her employees, her girls, help her design for
Wow.
each season, pick out the fabrics, pick out the silhouettes, what sold this season, what didn't, and she really included us, and having
So
that
special.
job was so, so special and pivotal to me, and it really also made me realize I wanted to help women and work with women, which led
Mhm.
me to becoming a color palette analyst and
Yes.
go through with that. So everything snowballs, you know?
Yeah, yeah. The reason I brought this up, because I could have just jumped right into, you doing jewelry, is because you did mention what it taught you to work with women. You did a post or a reel or something talking about
Yeah.
that. And I think it's really interesting that, like, that's what you're taking away from that. If you had to, like, tie it in a bow of what you learned as, let's focus on being a woman in business, like,
Yeah.
what's the one thing you noticed that you're like, this is what I'm gonna take with me as a woman?
Use your strengths and know what they are and realize that, like, there's no difference between you and a man. There's really not. Just the fact that he has probably more time to do it because he's not taking care of 4 kids. And if you make the time and you have the willpower to do it, you will do it. And that's something that I really learned from Zasi, in that job.
Yeah.
And just to not take no for an answer and realize, again, in a bow, it's just like there's nothing that's different from the person who
Yes.
succeeded before you and you. Like they're not more talented. That like it's not the talent. It's just how much you put into it and the
Right.
will you put into it. Um, and that's something I really took away from it.
So beautiful.
And I really learned to have like balls. Like, excuse me, but like
You're excused.
it's like we have to stand up for ourselves and realize that like our language and what we can say and how we can articulate things like a man could never, even if it's not like a straight out like blunt, like we're just emotionally intelligent and we
Yeah.
know how to do what we want. And sometimes we're afraid to because we're like, oh, what are they gonna think, whatever. But no, just use it, be sharp, because you are sharp and you
Yeah.
do know what you want to say. So say it.
100%. It's funny because I notice with myself, like, when I'm well, just say when I'm, like, saying something very bluntly and bossy, it
Hmm.
feels natural when I do it. It's after the fact that all these voices, like societal voices are in my head, like, maybe that was too harsh, maybe you shouldn't have said that, and it's only because these narratives were fed into my brain. Like, naturally, I'm there. Like, I have that ability to just do that, and then I'm like, maybe I shouldn't, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't." I'm like, "Stop." And it's always like, it's because we're fed this information that, like, no, women should be kind, and we should just sit back and be, like, calm and whatever, right? And it's like, why? Like, we have that, but we also are allowed to be, if you're a boss, you're a boss. Like, say it as it is, right?
Yeah, and you also have to back it up with your actions and your body language as
Right.
well. It's a
Right.
huge thing because you could talk your talk, but then like, are you really
Right.
gonna do it? Are you really
Right.
gonna follow through on it? And you really have to because with anyone, men, women, whatever, that it's like it's easy to talk, but it's
Right.
like, oh, is what you're saying like really true? Are you really gonna follow through on it? And I think that's something that it's really hard for us to do
Definitely.
sometimes, like to even initially have that like
Mhm.
energy and that confidence to speak up for ourselves. But once you do, I mean, you said it yourself. Doesn't it feel like such a sigh of relief? It's like, ugh, like that felt
Yeah.
so good. Like
Yeah.
it's cathartic. So yeah.
Yeah. That's a really good point. It's like you can't let that energy subside. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a really, really good point. So, okay, I know you have this entrepreneurial, like, background and it was always fostered in your childhood, but, like, what gave you the confidence or the motivation or whatever you wanna call it to actually go ahead and, start your own business?
Ooh. So I'll tell you, with what I'm doing now with jewelry and becoming my own business, stepping into the fine jewelry industry. I have been in the fine jewelry industry for 4 years already.
Mhm.
I was just working with a different company, and I
Right.
was the face of that company, which taught me so, so much, and I wouldn't be here today
Mm.
without that company. So I owe so much respect and so much love to them and to, the previous person that I worked with, and what gave me the confidence is that I worked really hard and I know I could do it because I've
I
seen
love
other
it.
people do it. And I'm like, why can't I do it? I've seen
Love it.
people on the block from when on 47th Street start from nothing. And I've seen their come up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is amazing. And I was doing it with a different company. So like I had to abide by their rules,
Right.
right? Even though I was the face of it, and when you think of this previous company, you think of my face because I was the
Mm.
one who was constantly talking. When you went for a consultation, I'm the one who you saw.
Mm.
So I pretty much was already doing it, if that
Right.
makes sense, but with a safety net because
Right.
what? It wasn't my money.
Mhm.
It wasn't my
Yeah.
investment. It wasn't my money. I had a safety net because it wasn't all on me. Like if it didn't
Yeah.
work out, like okay, but I put in my all, of course. Um and something that I also want to shout out to the previous person that I worked with in his wisdom, whether he knew it or not. I got hired at that job actually not as a jeweler because I didn't know anything about jewelry. 4 years ago, I didn't know anything except for that I liked it, that I love diamonds. Like other than that, I did
Yeah.
not. And I know how to talk to women, and I'm very personable, and like I love to schmooze. Like,
Yeah.
if you want me to schmooze with someone, I could schmooze all day.
Yeah,
You
you
know,
got it. Yeah.
I got it. But, like, when it came to, like, actually speaking about, like, the
Mhm.
nitty-gritty of jewelry, what to look for, the 4 C's, all of that stuff, like, I wasn't knowledgeable, you know? So when I started running that page and being the face of that company, within a week, we both realized that I didn't know what the hell I was talking about, and people were starting to see it. They were like, "Who is this girl?" And, like, "This is off," right?
There was, like, no faking it till you make it in that situation.
There really wasn't. You
Right.
can't take it till you make it in this industry. You
Right.
have to know what you're talking about because people see through it,
Mhm.
and the jewelry industry is all about trust. It's all
Right.
about trust and knowledge. And if you don't know what you're talking about and you're not trustworthy, people see through it as they
Mhm.
should because they're spending a lot of money. So, like I said, in his wisdom, whether he knew it or not, he said, "Leah, you're not touching the social media for 6 months. Putting down the phone and you're going to become a jeweler." And I was
Oh.
like, I don't want to be a jeweler. Like, I just want to make my money and go home, do my social
Right.
media here and there. Like, I had just gotten married. I just wanted like a steady source of
Yeah.
income to chill, enjoy my first year of marriage, and then I was going to figure it out after. Like, this
Yeah.
was like a very like side gig when it started
Mhm.
off as. And he was like, "No, you need to learn jewelry." So
Wow.
there's something in the on 47th Street in the jewelry industry which is called a runner. I don't know if you ever heard about this.
No.
This is the person who is basically like does all the bitch work.
Mm.
This is the runner is
Okay.
the person which is like not a very like prestigious
Mm.
sought after job. It is pretty much the person who runs around doing all the errands, picking up the
Got it.
casting, giving it to the setter, going to get it polished, going to pick up the stones, but like all of those things, I got to meet all of the vendors, all of the
Mm.
wholesalers. I got to know where everyone was, who to go to
Yeah.
for what was good, who was not as good. It was literally like hazing. I said it was like a hazing. And I'm telling you, every day I got home from work and I told my husband, I was like, I want to quit because this
Wow.
is not what I signed up for. And also, it was like embarrassing. I was like,
So why did you stick around?
honestly, I don't know. Guess I just felt I was like and I made the best out of it, right?
Mhm.
Because at the time I was like, who are these people? Because I had to
Mhm.
go to each person, right? And I met them and I started schmoozing with them because that's who
Mm.
I am. And I was like, how are you? How are your kids? Where are you going for your Shiva week? And I would get to know them and I would become such good friends with them.
Wow.
And they are those connections that I made during those
Mm.
days. And, you know, it wasn't just 6 months. I also, for the next 2 years,
Right.
started going around and speaking to them and whatever, gaining those connections. And now they're some of my best friends. And then when I
Wow.
started my own company and I was like, hey, you know, I'm making my own LLC, I'm branching out on my own. I left the previous company. They were like, yeah, duh. Like,
Wow.
what? And they were like, anything you need because they already
Wow.
knew who I was. And
Right.
they already knew that I know how to sell. I have a good client base. I know what I'm doing and I'm trustworthy because
Wow.
getting these accounts in the diamond district is not easy. You need to have a reputation. No one can just walk onto 47th
Mhm.
Street from a jeweler because no one's going to give you anything. Everything is on a memo system, which is pretty much like a loan system. So, like, when I go to show something to someone, if someone wants to see a $30,000 diamond, do you think I'm paying $30,000 out of my wallet to
Mm.
go and show it to you and pick it up from my wholesaler? Like, no, that's
Right.
not how it works. The wholesaler trusts me because he knows
Right.
me and he knows that I'm connected and that I put in the time and I put in the work to give me literally a $30,000 diamond and let me walk out the
Wow.
door with no
Wow.
collateral. So,
That's
like,
crazy.
it is pretty crazy and it's a big responsibility, but it's something
Wow.
that I worked really hard for. So it was very natural for me to shift
Mhm.
into doing my own thing because I had built such a support system and such a network that I worked really hard for. And if I hadn't done that like boot camp hazing, I would have never known what to do like at all. And I learned how to be a jeweler in those years and I learned so much. I learned what a crappy diamond looks like, how to use a loop, how to set something correctly, what a crappy casting looks like, what a good casting looks like, who has good stuff, who has okay stuff, who to send what, like all of these little things that like takes people years and years and years to learn. Like I did it on somebody else's dime, which was amazing. And a lot of people don't get the opportunity to
Right.
do when they jump into a business. It's like,
Right.
okay, I'm doing this blind, and whatever money that I lose, like I lose. And like that sucks. But like I kind of got to like trial and error it with the first company that I
Right.
worked, which was really, really an amazing opportunity to do.
So, first of all, I want to say it's so beautiful how you're giving credit to all these like past jobs that you've done and the people that have like fostered your training and whatever, whether it was, the exquisite or this jewelry company. It says a lot about you because I think a lot of us would just be like, yeah, that was a job. Like, I learned what I learned and bye. Like, you're really giving these people credit. So, I want to just say, like, that's really special of you. I know you probably feel genuinely like that, but that says a lot about your character.
No, I
Um,
really, really do because like no matter how things ended off, whatever, I left. We didn't at the end for the other jewelry company that I worked for, we just decided that like we saw the company going in different
mhm,
ways. I was like, will you give me your blessing to start my own company? Because like if I keep doing something that isn't
right,
feeling natural to me and I'm the face of it, this is just not going to work and people are
right.
going to see through it. And it was just very amicable and he gave me his blessing and it was just
Beautiful.
an amazing, amazing thing. And, I
Yeah.
wouldn't be here without him. And even though we have different views and different opinions on things, like you have to give credit where credit's due. And it's so funny
Yeah.
because like on 47th Street, everyone wants the tea, right? Like, oh, you left. Why'd you leave? Why'd you leave? I'm like, even if there was tea, I think I would tell you. Like, I have,
Yeah.
I don't owe you anything, but I owe them something. They gave me
Mm.
a career that I'm building my own business out of. And like, I
Wow.
feel like people don't give enough credit to the people who are stepping stones to them. You have to have
Definitely.
respect, 100%.
Yeah, that's why I'm pointing it out because I think it's most people don't give the credit that's due and you are. So I'm saying it's just
Yeah,
really
thank
special.
you.
Yeah. But I want to ask you like what you learned about yourself during that time of like making the transition into starting your own. One thing that I'm very curious about is like, you were saying it was a very natural progression, but at the same time, you no longer had that safety net of it's someone else's business. Now the responsibility is on you. So like during that initial time and even maybe now, like I don't know how you're feeling about it now. Like what are some things that you can reflect on about yourself that you're like, "Oh, I didn't know I'm capable of this," or "I didn't know I have this in me."
Well, it definitely is like having another child. And it's crazy because like I'm a mom, like I said, my daughter is
Yeah.
15 months now,
Wow.
and it's not easy. It's not easy balancing everything. And I shock myself every day. I'm like, I don't know how I did this. I don't know how I did this. I don't know how. The other day I saw a client in the morning in 5 towns. Two clients, sorry. I saw two clients in the morning in 5 towns. One at like 11 and then another at like, let's say 12, whatever. I don't remember exactly.
Mm.
And then I drove back to Queens, dropped off my car, got on the train, went into the city, saw another client, looked at some stones, did the things I needed to do there,
Yeah.
drove back and got in time to pick up my daughter,
Wow.
and then had to take her to her grandparents. Like, it's just
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
It never ever stops.
Yeah.
And you just have to give yourself credit, honestly, and just be like, wow, like we're doing this, girl. Like, let's go. Let's
Yeah.
go. But something that I really realized about myself when doing it myself, because now there's no repercussions if I don't, right? Because like there's no boss standing over me. There's nothing. It's like if I don't do something, I don't. And
You're responsible for
something
yourself in every single
I'm
way.
responsible
Yeah.
for myself and for my clients now, right? So
Right.
like if something goes wrong, it's on me.
Yeah.
And something that I realize is that I really care. I really give a shit. And that actually shocked me in a way. Hold on.
Really?
When I say that, yes, because whenever I was doing it with the other company, it's like it was kind of on the other company. Yes, it was on me and my name, and like I always cared deeply. But at the same time, it's like I had that fallback, But I cannot tell you since I started this how many times I've had to go out of my way beyond to make sure somebody was happy. Ship something overnight, pay a $300 shipping bill out of my pocket
Yeah.
because she needs it for her birthday, or drive
Yeah.
all the way an hour out because like someone really wants to see something in person but they can't get it to the city, like in places that like most people would be like, no sorry,
Right.
like
Right.
and not even like so much about the sale for me because at this point in my career, like, and when I'm starting out myself, like my margins are very slim. I just want people to have my pieces. And I
Hmm.
think that's also people get so cocky when they start their business that they want to like charge like a
Right.
crazy amount of money. It's like, it's not about that. It's about people having your piece on. I want everyone to have a piece by Leah Sroka. I don't care if I don't make a dime off of it. I just want people to have my pieces on them. And,
Right.
whether you're in the service industry, whatever, you just want people to say, oh, yeah, I went to her and I had an amazing experience.
Right. And
Um,
like why Leia versus somebody else, right? Like that's important.
right, right. Put in that extra work, no matter what it means. Yes, sometimes you might lose out. Okay. Like I don't want to go into it too much, but I worked with somebody recently that I wasn't impressed by
Hmm.
the service that I received. They did their job. They did their job. What I asked them to do, they did it. But at the end of it, I was like, no, I'm not happy, but thank you. So like, of course I'm going to pay you. Like, duh. Like, and they were like, okay, like,
Bye.
you can pay me now. And I was just like, I was kind of a little bit shocked, but, and I spoke to my husband about it. I was like, this is crazy. Like, I would never, like, I would literally rather like dig my own grave than like a client walk away and be like, yeah, didn't like
Right.
it, but like, like I would rather pay out of pocket. And I have for a couple of things. I'm telling you, I have paid thousands out of pocket because someone didn't like something. And I was just like, I'd rather be out $1,000 than you walk around saying you didn't have a good experience with Leia
Right.
Soroka. A lot of business owners wouldn't agree with me, and that's fine. Maybe I should listen to them, and they're probably a lot more wealthy than I am. But at this point in my career, like I'm willing to take that loss. And
Yeah.
but it's not a loss. It's everything is it's like I could either have $1,000
Yeah.
or I could have a happy client that goes around and talks to all her friends about how I went above and
Right.
beyond and she's the best and you have to go to her. And then I'll make 3 sales off of that and
Right.
that'll be 3 grand. You know what I'm saying? So like
You're playing the long game, right? You're
you have to
playing
play
the
the long game.
Yeah, which a
Yeah.
lot of people think, especially nowadays, you want the shortcut, you want the 2 second soundbite of whatever, right? And I think, especially with social media, that's what you see. People put out the last 3 seconds of when it happened, and you're not seeing all the time that went into it. But I think like it comes at a cost. Even like you're making a very calculated decision. I'd rather make the relationship than the $1,000. But I feel like you're a one woman show. You don't have customer service. You don't have salespeople. You're it,
I'm
right?
everything. Yeah.
You're 100% it. And I feel like it takes, I feel like, more emotion and more energy. And you did post, and I don't know if this was like a trend, because like I'm not good with social media, but it's like, do it scared, do it unmotivated, do it tired, do it as a mom, do it anyway. Love it. I love that post. I know it was a while ago. But when you're saying, you somehow you met 5 different clients, you met in 5 towns. What was it? 5 towns?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
5 towns. You went to Queens, you went to Manhattan, you picked up your daughter, you're giving all that energy, you're taking things out of your pocket. Like, we can write a whole page about this, but like, how do you actually do it? Do you know, like, practically, what do you have to do, or what do you have to sacrifice to operate this way? And I just want to ask you, because I think,
Yeah.
women listening can learn from this, because I think you're showing the other side of the coin of like, this is what it really takes to get,
Yeah.
I'm showing you the diamond on my Instagram story, but like, this is really the behind the scenes.
You have to be very, very organized and meticulous about your work. And that's really how I get through it. I'm very organized. I'm very meticulous. I plan out my day to the second. Because
Yeah.
also, fun fact, I have I'm working on my time management skills because
Mm.
I get so into what I'm doing that like I'm always rolling over 15 minutes. So like
Got it.
I
Got
give
it.
myself that extra time and just knowing yourself and being able to sacrifice, there are some nights that like I get my daughter from daycare and like we have like that like 2, 3 hour window before she goes to sleep and like I'm not there. My head is somewhere else. And like it's really, really
Yeah.
it is a sacrifice. It is a sacrifice. And I make sure to make my time with my daughter, with my husband. Like Sundays are for the
Yeah.
fam. Like I try to not even pick up my phone on Sunday. But like you have
Oh,
to be open to making that sacrifice, Like you just cannot do it all all at once. You can't have it all.
Right.
And I know people say like, "Oh, you can have it all. You can have it all." I mean, maybe I'm just not at that stage yet, but right now, as I'm bootstrapping a business by myself, I'm not just, picking up jewelry from, my vendors and showing it on my stories. Like I make the jewelry myself. So it's like
Yeah.
I'm not only like when you buy an engagement ring from me, like you're buying also the experience of me doing everything. Like
Yeah.
I'm doing the design, the setting, picking out the stone with you. I'm taking it to the setter. I'm quality checking it all along the way. Like I am making that piece. I'm not like a jewelry
Yeah.
store.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that goes into it, and sacrifice is part of it. So when you hear women say like, "Oh, you can have it all," like I'm not there yet personally,
Yeah.
but I hope
No,
to
but
one day it's true.
you said something very important. You said you can't have it all at once. And I think that's the difference. Is like,
Right.
yes, you can have it. Like, I always think about like, it take a 7 day period, take a week. Like, I need to make sure I'm filling different buckets in my life, like emotionally, like mentally and intellectually, but it's not all going to be the same day. I can't physically fit all of that into one day. So I think when you switch that mindset of like, you can have it all but not at the same time, it makes things a little bit more accessible and a little bit more realistic.
Yes, thank God for Shabbat. Like from Friday until Sunday, like all my content is most of the time, if I'm on top of it, pre-planned out, like post anything,
Mm,
and like that's my family time. But like during
yeah,
the week, for me, it's go time. Like
right,
I'm on constantly.
right,
So that's the sacrifice that I make, and I hope that I do get to that point. Like I said, one day that maybe I can have it all in a nice capacity, but
right.
it is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so I want to just before we go into more of like you and, your journey, I want to just quickly take a minute to unpack this like myth about diamonds being an investment because I think it's really interesting how you talked about this. Can
Yeah.
you share a little bit about that?
So this is a hot topic, right? Because like everyone talks about natural versus lab, and I just want to go on
Yes.
the record saying here that I sell both, and I
Oh,
am someone who sees the value in both, and there
mhm.
is value to diamonds, both natural and lab. But there is this word that gets thrown around a lot when we're talking about diamonds, and that word is that it's an investment.
Yeah.
And I am fun fact about me, I'm very into economics. I like following, trends and everything, what's going on with gold, what's going on in the stock market and stuff like that. And when you start getting into this, you need to know what is an investment and what is
Mhm.
not an investment. So like there are different types of investments, right? But like the standard type of investment when we're talking about it is something that you buy that will grow your money, right? That has like a liquidity to it and has like expected returns on it. And the most important thing that really sets apart diamonds from a lot of traditional stocks is that it has a resale market and a standard value, right? So, like gold does, sorry, not diamonds. So, like, let's say that you go tomorrow and you're like, hey, like, I want to resell my diamond out of my engagement ring. There's no set value to that
Mhm.
diamond, right? It's like you have to find a buyer for it, and also each diamond is worth a different amount of money. So
Right.
like a lot of times people will ask me for quotes on things, right? They'll be like, "Hey, like I want a natural diamond. I want a 2 carat pear-shaped diamond, whatever." And I'm like, "Okay, but like what color, what clarity, like do you want fluorescence? Like is fluorescence okay with you? Because like if you go lower on the color scale, like sometimes fluorescence can make it look a little bit whiter. Like
Mm.
there are all these things, and like a 2 carat pear-shaped diamond could be $10,000 apart from another.
Wow.
So there's no like standard price or
Right.
resale market for diamonds in that way. So if you wanted to sell it tomorrow and cash out on it, like you're probably not going to get any money for it for another month unless you find a great seller
Mm.
for it. Or
Mm.
if a jeweler does buy it from you, he's probably going to lowball you to make sure that like if he has to stock it for the next year or two until he can find a
Right.
buyer for it. You know what I'm saying? So like but gold, let's say you have like a gold chain, right? Or a gold bangle. If you wanted to get money for it today, you could go and sell it today at a refinery
Right.
and get liquid money for it. So that's the difference between
So
something that
interesting.
is an investment and something that is an investment. There's no live global
Mhm.
market for diamonds. Like I look every morning on my phone, I check, it's called Kitco, which is a great website. Everyone should know it. That it keeps track of the gold price
Mhm.
live. You could see it moving like as
So
you're
cool.
looking at it. And that is what gold price is going for. That's a global market price that everyone can agree upon, buyers, sellers, banks. This is
Mhm.
the price of gold at this moment today. Um, there's nothing like that for diamonds. There's
Yeah.
no you ever wonder how there's no diamond stock? Why aren't
Right.
there any diamond stocks? Because it's not an investment. But it is an investment in a different way, just because come on, I can't, like, bury myself here, I am a diamond but I'm saying it is an investment in a different way,
Right.
right? It's an investment in love, in legacy, and something you're gonna pass down to your children, and it does hold value, but it's not gonna be the same amount that you paid for it. You're
Right.
lucky if you get back 60, 70% of what you paid because the jeweler who made it has to take a piece, right, of his commission, his time that he's gonna pay you for, he or she, right? Um, that they're gonna pay you for. Um, there's a lot of things. The person who put in the work to set your diamond, the jewelry is inside of, like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
That costs money, and that's something that when you take that stone out,
It
you're never gonna get
changes.
that exact amount of money again.
Right.
So there's value there. There's immense value in diamonds. I mean, I don't have to sell you on that. De Beers in
Yeah.
the whole world and everyone sells you on the fact that diamonds and jewelry is a girl's best friend. And
Yeah.
listen, I'm there. I'm the same.
You contest. Yeah.
Yes, but when I'm making financial
Right.
decisions, I'm putting my stuff, my money in things that have liquid value and consistently appreciate.
Right.
Um, so yeah,
You
that's
explained that so well. You really did.
okay. I'm
Like,
happy.
yeah, and I love that it's coming from you because you have skin in the game. You're n- you're in the diamond business. But you're
Yeah,
being very
that's true.
honest about what the value is something other than just an investment like a gold would be, which makes a lot of sense.
Oh, 100%. No, sometimes when I see these prices on like retail websites and even like in these stores, like sometimes I go in and I'm like, let's just see. Like, let's just see.
Market research.
Yeah, market research. And I'm
Yeah.
literally like jaw on the floor. I'm like, you
Wow.
are literally robbing people illegally. Like, that's not
Wow.
right. Cause
Yeah.
like I know the price of these things, especially with lab grown diamonds. Um, they're the most accessible that they have ever been. The prices are so accessible.
Yeah.
And as someone who's a wholesaler, who has wholesale accounts, who has wholesale access, I see what it's trading
Right.
for. And I see some of the biggest companies in the game. I'm talking, I'm not going to name names, but like that use the same wholesaler and get their diamonds from the same place as me and see what they're marketing it up towards. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what did we start charging for? I'm like, I don't know. Like, making a killing. And I'm
Yeah.
like, ugh, but I'm
Wow.
like, I can't do that where I'm at yet. And I don't think
Right.
I ever would. But
Wow.
anyway,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, we love the authenticity and like the openness that you bring to
yeah.
it. I think that's why also people are drawn to you. I want to ask you if you can give advice. You went from learning about this in someone else's business and then, starting your own, getting rid of that safety net. If someone was sitting here today and like in the position you were before you started your own, you're like, they're learning this incredible skill, they're learning this incredible market. They want to basically break off and like fly on their own. What advice would you give them?
Know the risks, know your market,
Mm,
and know what you're talking about. Because once you go out on your own, everything you do, everything you say, every product or service, you have to stand by. And you have to know
yeah.
you have to know your stuff. Because if you don't, people will see through it and you have to give people a reason to choose you. And going out on your own, you have to be ready to stand up to
Yeah.
the big dogs who have been in the industry
Yeah.
for 40, 50, 60 years, whatever it is, because there's always going to be someone who's bigger and better than you. And you want to get to that level, right?
Yeah.
But you have to be able to stand up next to them and be like, hey, like, I'm actually just as good as them. Going back to what we were saying before, like, it's not a talent thing, it's a
Right.
knowledge thing, putting in the work to be just as good as them and you will get there. And like
Yeah.
I solely believe that like I will get there. Like I believe it in my
I
whole
love
heart.
that.
Yeah.
I
I
love
mean, I've
that.
been doing this for less than a year, and I
Yeah.
always say that, like, businesses are like babies, and, I still have, like, a newborn pretty much, like,
Mm, yeah.
you know,
Different stages. Yeah.
different stages, and, like, also knowing that it takes time. Authentic audiences and authentic clients take time.
Yeah.
I've seen it with the other brands that I've worked with the previous jewelry company, with the clothing company. It takes time to gain a authentic audience. Don't look at
Yeah.
follower counts. Really don't. I know jewelers, and I know many people in different businesses as well that have, 50, 100,000 followers, but, like, there's
Zero
no there's
clients.
no there's no income coming in. Like, they
Right.
have the
Right.
clout, but,
It's two
like,
separate thing. Yeah.
it's two separate things, and there, I actually got amazing advice. So I met actually Eileen from the podcast of Bitches, BETC,
Yeah.
um,
Betches.
Betches, and she gave me great advice. I ran up to her and I was like, "Hey, like, you are such an inspiration. You grew this platform like insane." I was like, "What's like one piece of advice you can give to me?" Because like I've had like a couple like things go viral here and there, and she's like, "I'm gonna stop you right there. Virality does not equal sales
Mm,
and income." She's like, "Don't worry about having the clout, having the viral reels, the viral videos." She's like, "It will come, but like that's not how you measure success, and that's definitely not how you make money." And I
right.
think that like switched something in me
Yes.
because I realized that like, oh, like that is so true because it really doesn't correlate. Sometimes it does, obviously, because you have more
Depends what, right. Right. Depends what your
eyes.
industry. You also have to know your industry.
You have to know
Yeah.
your industry because you have more eyes, right? But like
Yeah.
I see people who have like an amazing, crazy following, but like their views are like not that crazy. And you
Right.
also I'm a number scroll, right? So I look at my numbers. So like let's say I have, I think right now I have like a little bit more than 3,000 followers, which is nothing great or crazy. I'm just starting. But when I get a reel that
Right.
goes over that number, right? Or like over the $3,000 mark, that means 100% of my following is watching
I
my,
see.
like, I look at
Yeah.
it this way, you know what I'm saying?
Same. The women that I have on the podcast that have like thousands of followers, the views are so much smaller than the women who have 800 followers that are their
Right,
friends. Isn't
right.
that crazy?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So I think that's just a really important part, especially as someone if they're
Yes.
thinking about starting out, is that like, please don't compare. Just be authentic and
Yeah.
just do your thing and act like you're talking to an audience of like a full arena. Like literally, you never know who's gonna
Yeah.
see it. And when you do the numbers, you realize that you're actually doing an amazing job.
Yeah. I love that. So practical.
Mm.
I want to pivot like slightly.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I think it's really interesting that you mentioned, you grew up very, very like barely traditional Jewish, which I didn't know. This was a fact that I just learned. You went to
Mhm.
seminary, you kind of like your world changed in terms of Judaism. And I saw somebody, ask you, or you posted it on a story, whatever it was, why you wear a wig, but you also wear pants. And I know you had a really beautiful answer. And I just want to pick your brain here because, Jewish podcast for Jewish women. Talk
Yeah,
to me
yeah.
about what that means for you. Like how do you reconcile those two? I don't even think it needs to be reconciliation, but like for those people who think it is, like
No.
talk to me about that
So first
experience.
of all, I will say that I know it's strange. Okay, I'm not here saying like, what do you
Mm,
mean? Like this is like so normal. Like I know that it's not the norm. I get looks. I get people asking me all of the time. Sometimes in a nice way,
mm.
sometimes in a rude way. But people are confused, and that's their issue.
Mm,
Um, but for me, like I said, I've always been into fashion and beauty and feeling like my authentic self. And I'm also like very spiritual as well.
mm.
I did come to Judaism through Chabad Lubavitch, and something that is very, very important that is spoken about a lot in the Chabad community, and more importantly than the Chabad community, but about the Rebbe, who
Yeah.
is the person who is the foundation of the community, is very, very important to him that Jewish married women wear shaitels, not just cover their hair. I think that he, don't quote me on this, but I think it was in a sikha he gave that
Hmm.
he actually like begged his, the Jewish women in his community to cover their hair with a shaitel and not with a scarf.
Mm.
because we are in modern times, right? And it can be
Mm.
embarrassing sometimes to be wearing a scarf, or it could be dangerous even when he was saying this to be like openly Jewish. And look how that's coming back around, you
Right.
know? So he was afraid that women would take off their scarf because it's much easier to rip off a scarf than to
In a
rip
way.
off your shaitel. Like,
Right.
you're not going to do that on the train, you know what I'm saying? So,
Can you imagine?
yeah, literally. Like,
Yeah.
then you'll really get some some eyes
Some
on you.
looks, yeah.
And it just shows his compassion for women and his like deep understanding about the experience of a woman in this modern world and how we want to be accepted and we do want to blend in. Like,
Yeah.
yes, it's amazing to be a proud Jew. I wear my mug and David every day. I am a very proud Jew, and all of us are, I hope. But
I hope.
nevertheless, sometimes we do want to blend in and we do want to feel um accepted and not so openly like, whoa. So he understood that. So he said, you know what? Wear a shaitel. Please wear a shaitel because this will make you feel comfortable in this modern world and you won't feel the pressure to like rip it off the way that you would rip off a scarf.
Mhm.
And also, I'm not going to go into all the details, but like I said, I'm a very spiritual person. I love learning about like all the Kabbalistic deep meanings about like what it means to cover the hair, that like a ton of blessing comes from covering the hair. And really, there's no reason besides, you know, those obvious things that like I just relate to it. I just
Mhm.
relate to it. It just hit my neshama in a way that I find it very
Yeah.
important. It's a way that I connect to my Rebbe. It's a way that I connect to my Judaism and I remember where it came from and what I'm doing this all for and who runs the world. It's kind of like my kippah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make
Also,
sense?
yes, and I also like this concept, for another woman, it can look differently. For them, something
It could be
else
the
they took
opposite.
upon. Exactly. And I think that's why I wanted to ask you this question because it comes down to like what is connecting you to your Judaism? What is reminding you you're Jewish? Like it doesn't I think it's 2026. It doesn't look the same for everybody, but like it's so important for me to have every single type of Jewish woman on this podcast. Women who didn't grow up Jewish at all and converted, women who grew up religious and are not religious, women who grew up completely reformed and are not religious. Like that's so important for me to highlight those different versions of Jewish women or Jewish people because I think like yo, it's 2026. It looks so different in so many different
No,
ways. Like, it
well,
doesn't mean you're any less Jewish because you take this upon yourself and you don't? So that's why I wanted to ask you this question.
no, because it is a relationship. It really is so different. Even for my husband grew up modern Orthodox and his whole family is modern Orthodox. So like nobody in his family wears a wig. So
Mm.
like it's just like
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
everyone is different.
Right.
Yeah, you know? Like, yeah.
Wow. Okay, so I don't want to end this conversation because I love talking to you, but timing
Yeah.
is forcing us. But I want to just end off by asking you one question. Like, how does success look like to you today versus, the idea you had of it when let's take 1920 when you were first like starting out in the
Yeah.
world?
Hmm. Success now, I think, comes from having peace and time and headspace to be with family and loved ones and with
Mm,
my daughter, and for her to be proud of me and something that I have really worked my butt off to create
yeah,
and pass down some beautiful diamonds to her and a beautiful business to her.
yeah,
Um, and to have a clientele, like to build an amazing clientele that really feels like their family to me,
yeah,
and them not only to be clients but friends, and to have that group and that network of people who can say that they have come into contact with me and have had
yeah,
such a great experience. Just that I have the opportunity to show them who I am and what I can do, and how I could give them the most beautiful piece of jewelry and experience that they can. Like that is
yeah,
success to me, to have
yeah,
nothing but good words on people's tongue about me and my family and everything that I touch.
yeah.
That is success to me.
I think that's like a really nice way to wrap up like what we learned about you today. I think like you are so much more than just a jeweler. I think even like from start to finish, like the through line is your energy and what you bring. And you took it with like starting as a salesperson for Dead Sea products in a mall to, you know, your company, your company today. I just think like it's very clear that you bring your like your entire personality, and we'll go back to like the neshama. You bring your neshama to everything. You bring your soul to everything that you do, and the way you talk about people, the way you know, you give credit where it's due, and the way that you care more about how people are gonna think about your experience with you than like profit that you made from the whatever you sold. I just think that says a lot about you, and I'm so happy that I, you know, brought you on here so that people can actually hear all about this and like take that 15 seconds they see in social media and like really put a story behind, you know, behind all that. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you
I really
so much.
appreciate it.
This was
Thank you.
unbelievable. Like I really, really mean it. Like I really
Thank you.